All right, welcome in everyone to Titan Esports. We are here week 2 for Divinity League. My name's Caleb Pang. I'm joined by Professor Malice today for our color side. How are you doing today, Professor Malice?
I'm doing fantastic. Better than good and better than most. Happy to be here today in the Divinity League for Titan Esports. As you see, I'm the first VTuber they've ever had and perhaps the last. We'll see how that goes. But today, we are here to watch. What are the name of the teams? We have a monkey team, Monkey Supreme, and TTF Astronauts. That's a tongue twister of a name right there.
Yes, a lot of letters in that name, but both teams undefeated so far through week 1 of the Divinity League. We're now on week 2. This is a 7-week group stage for the Divinity League, and then we'll have top 8 teams go off into a playoffs. So definitely a fun time to see. And I have some stats from last week as well for those because TFF Alfstronauts and Monkey Supreme, they both played off broadcast, but they are both undefeated. TFF went 2-0, and they had a 7-0 Cassante as well too, which was on Ultimice. pretty strong stuff. Definitely not a fun time to face. And then they also won the second game too, and yeah, strong 2-0 finish for them. And then Monkey Supreme, they did end up going 2-1 against IG. But they, on the backs of Stepro on that ADC, had 13-1 Jinx in that first game, which is pretty nutty. And then they lost the second game and then won that third game. Their jungler Myth was 16-7 on a Shinzao, and then the Stepro was also 14-7 on a Misfortune. So I'm sure both teams kind of did some of their research, and we'll probably see some of that play out in the bans today.
Sounds like they did their research. Indeed, all I heard was OP champions for the current patch.
That's right. Well, we're going to head into the draft here. For those that are tuning in for the first time for Titan Esports, for Divinity League, it is fearless, which means that anything played from either side in any of the games will not be eligible for games 2, and if there's a game 3, games 3 as well. But of course, you could still ban the same champs in respective games if they're never picked up. Looks like we have a Trendemir ban right off the bats for Alfstronauts, and met by Diego ban on the other side, and then Wukong ban from Alfstronauts as well. Wukong, in my opinion, I think is really, really strong in this current patch too. I know a lot of my friends that are junglers hate playing into it, and yeah.
Wukong is absolutely a strong one. With the Collegiate League right now, we see Wukong being a top pick.
And then looks like we get a Caitlyn ban on the second ban from Supreme Monkeys, and then a Misfortune ban. We'll head back to the draft in a little bit as we get some of these technical difficulties sorted out. But as you can see too, I mean, I think Misfortune ban is definitely a good ban for sure. Definitely one of the more reliable ADCs in this current meta as well. And yeah, in the hands of a player that's good with it, definitely would not be a good time. And Stepro had a great time with it last week.
I would be doubtful if it gets through at any one of these games. MF is a particularly strong champion in the current meta due to her AoE synergy for these wombo combo type of compositions with big threats out on the board like Scorner, Rel, and Cassante, who can frontline and position people. MF offers a great team fighting capability as well as a easy to execute utility that sets up teams quite nicely. I think she's one of the more prominent picks in the pro scene right now. If I'm not mistaken, at least in the collegiate scene, she is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of these like AoE abilities are really strong in this current season of League, right? With Otacon as well. A lot of those fights in the river, like Misfortune ult just dropping in the middle of Otacon. I mean, not only do you have a good secure chance on that, even without Smite on Misfortune, but it's just devastating to even just sit in that um, barrage of for that bullet time. So going to be interesting to see how they pivot as well. I know Sepro played a game of Jinx and also played a game of Ash. Ash game, unfortunately, was one that they lost, but still did some respectable stats on the Ash. Unfortunately, just was not able to win that one. But we're gonna have to see how these players adjust in those situations. What are your thoughts on the current season? The Otacon being added in as one of the jungle monsters and kind of objectives to fight for these days.
It's been a wild ride to watch it. The first initial response from my players and those that I've worked with is to prioritize it. It's new, it's important, it's impactful. But as time's gone on, the value of it has started to decrease, and the hesitation of when do we take it has, well, I guess, increased as well. So players are waiting for more ideal conditions or bigger windows to take it. I do think that it's a great way to ensure some of these games don't go to 40 minutes, which tends to be the trend right now, as it makes snowballing games when there's a skill differential a lot easier. I'm not too sure. The impact on the game that it provides, I think it's overrated. If you are behind, the 25% buff isn't very helpful. And if you look at the amount of gold that you get from the extra execution at the end of the game, you're looking at maybe another 400 to 800 gold for the entirety of the team, which isn't a whole lot when you get towards the later half of the game. The initial buff, I think, is a great tactical tool when you get the Guardian Angel Revive, as it allows you to play very aggressively and elevate the game state through towers or through pressuring the Baron, which can lead for a lot more engaging visuals for the audience that plays the game. I think it's made a noticeable impact, but I wouldn't say it's been as game-changing as people initially thought.
Yeah, I think especially for the voracious Otacon as well. If you're really far ahead, it just becomes a huge pain to take out. The champs are already really fed. That being said, we are back in the draft. Looks like we're going through some different bans as well. Briar first ban actually, but we're going to pick up Jinx on the side of Alfstronauts, which always a really strong ADC these days, especially when you get those recats. We get Corki and Pantheon on the side of Supreme Monkeys, or Monkey Supreme, I should say, and potentially could be a Corki ADC, also could be a Corki bot. Pantheon as well could be flexing a number of spots here too. CS support, top lane, even jungle from time to time. Turns out going to be picked up, as well as Mordekaiser on the side of Alfstronauts. And we did see a Mordekaiser actually last week on in the hands of Ultimice. Did quite well with that as well too, so maybe a comfort pick. And it looks like Kenan's going to be the next pickup for Supreme Monkeys. Monkey Supreme, I should say.
Very interested to see the Pantheon pick. This is something that's been prevalent this patch. I forget which pro it was that came out with it, but there is a Sundered Black Cleaver tank build. I think it's Undying as the third item. That's been very prevalent and successful with Pantheon. The head coach of my school that I work with has been advising our jungle and support players of both varsity and JV to pick it up and try it out. And my jungler, my JV jungler, bless his heart, he has been incredibly successful with it. I think he's 6-1 with his own practice. And so I anticipate that Pantheon is going to be a dominating and threatening force that just is unkillable and offers a lot of single target CC and map mobility with his ult this game. MKS is looking very strong in the draft right now.
Definitely. And we get the Victor pickup as well too. Victor is really strong, especially after his buffs a couple months back, and just really great for team fighting ability, especially with that ultimate. We get the Kali pick on the other side of Alfstronauts. So Kali definitely has the ability to gap close a bit on that Victor, so we're going to see how that goes. And we're going to get a Swain as a final pickup, looking like a Swain support on this side of Alfstronauts. Swain's going to be interesting. Not a lot of melee engage on the side of Monkey Supreme so far, but it's actually going to be a Leona. So
Leona?
Error,
okay.
But it's going to be a Leona instead of the Swain, and we get a Sejuani as a final pick for the jungle side of Monkey Supreme. I like the Sejuani too, just very, very strong in general for gaming purposes and frontlining as well. So it looks like this is going to be a Corki bot instead of a Corki mid. And it is going to be that Pantheon support, which, as many would say, that's definitely a strong kill lane.
Very strong lane. I'm interested to see how well it pairs with the Corki. I'm going to go ahead and give the bot lane advantage over to TTF. I believe that Jinx and Leona are just going to have a higher kill pressure than a Corki, who's going to be weaker early on, can't trade with Jinx as well. And that Pantheon, who will be strong, but Leona is a great foil to that and preventing him from doing what he would like to do to the Jinx.
Definitely. All right, so it looks like we are going to get into game number 1 of Divinity League week number 2, and it's going to be TFF Alfstronauts versus Monkey Supreme.
Welcome
TFF
to
Alfstronauts on the
Summoner's
blue side
Rift.
to kick things off, and this is going to be a best of 3 fearless format for those as a quick reminder.
Thanks for the reminder. The graphics on screen did say best of 5, and I think that's confusing. We do see the team opening, both teams opening up with what we call the 5-point defense. This is a position where they cover the 5 entry points on their side, preventing the opposing team from getting wards.
Definitely. And, it looks like all members on both sides pretty spread out across the river here, too. Mice just pivoting a little bit back and forth on this Mordekaiser, but it doesn't look like we're going to have any invades from either side as they start getting
Minions have
positions
spawned.
for these minions. Right, and we can see, looks like both junglers are going to be starting on the top side here. And this Kennen is going to be really interesting, I think, in some of these team fights as well, too. Position well, Kennen's damage is going to be pretty disgusting. We do have exhaust on the side of Leona, but outside that, it's going to be hard to mitigate some of that Kennen damage.
I believe positioning is going to be key when it comes to avoiding Kennen's damage. Although if they do get caught in a choke point or around an objective, it is a devastating threat to TTF. The bot lane right here, in a melee versus melee matchups, the goal is to try to hit that level 2 first, and by my estimation, both teams are contesting it, but I think Monkey is going to get that level 2 first.
Yeah, and let's see if they're going to try to capitalize on that or not, too. I mean, that level 2 advantage, especially if you could get a pick early on, could be pretty big, too. But it looks like TFF Alfstronauts are going to hit level 2 just a split second beforehand. I think both teams are just going to be content on just poking back and forth, too, before going for any meaningful engages here.
Both teams had been contesting the wave, hit that level 2 around the same point. We're now pivoting over to the mid lane, where we see Victor and Akali giving some exchanges. Victor's goal in this position is to try to poke her out and leave her without enough resources to go for an all-in post level 6.
That's right. And yeah, CS across the board, pretty even. Nothing too crazy here from both teams. For those that have missed the more recent patch too, they did change the feats of strength a bit. So instead of just first blood giving away that warfare feats of strength, you do need to score 3 champion kills instead, which I think was a really good balance on the decision side of Riot, because that just single first blood for one of the feats of strength was just a little bit too quick, I think, and much easier to attain than any of the other 2 feats.
Oh, it was horribly toxic for player behavior as well. And a fight breaks out. Pantheon engage on Leona, and Leona re-engages on Pantheon.
All right, and it looks like the chase is on. Corki shredding through here, but the traps from Jinx is able to slow down this pursuit. They're going to zap back, and Corki is actually quite low as well, too. Chrome alone is able to kind of do some meaningful damage. Pretty low on mana at this point, but Jin Zhao is going to sweep around. Meanwhile, met by Myth as well, so junglers are skirmishing in this bottom riverside as well. The Leona and Jinx is going to reinforce here, but we got a re-engage from Leona on top of Yukino and this Pantheon, and Pantheon is going to go down. First blood going over to Leona. Would love to see it on the Jinx, but hey, we'll take a first blood any day for TFF here.
Gold is gold, and you have to be bold, and Xin Zhao goes in, only to get disengaged.
And, that assist gold is going to go with the Jinx a little bit, but an early advantage is going to go slightly in favor of TFF Alfstronauts. However, there's nothing too big that they gave up in this specific situation. Corki did stay alive, at least in that specific fight. I don't recall any very meaningful summoners being burned outside of that flash on the Corki, but no flash on Corki can be pretty good for later engages from Parolo and that Leona to secure a kill second time around.
There's an action breaking out on the top side of the map as both teams prepare for the, I would almost call them scuttles, I would say voidlings that are going to spawn here in just a few seconds. Sejuani goes for a mid lane gank, trying to gain priority, and is able to chip some damage off of the Kali before pivoting offwards.
Yeah, Kali going to try reset here. Lord DK on this Victor is pretty much out of mana as well, so I think the Kali is going to stay for a little bit more on this wave, knowing that there's not as much kill pressure at this point in time. Meanwhile, the back and forth on bot lane is still just going a little bit poke here or there, but nothing too crazy. How are you looking? What do you think about the late game here between these two teams? In my opinion, I think that Jinx in the right position can definitely scale pretty quick against the rest of the team of Monkey Supremes. But Victor late game is also no joke too in these team fights.
My thoughts on this, it comes down to the use of ZOI and positioning. I would say in an ideal world that MKS has the advantage in their composition, easier to execute, a lot more burst damage initially, and can hit multiple targets, swinging the team fight in their favor. But as we know, player agency is an element to consider, and so where they position, how they execute could give the advantage over to Jinx, who has the ability to overwhelm any individual when it comes to sheer damage output.
Ooh, and we get another kill here too on the side of TFF. Alfstronauts is going to be a Kali that's going to pick that up. Fate will be the one to secure that. Meanwhile, Myth is going for the grubs. Does get 2 of them, but if Sweevil and the Xin Zhao can contest this grub, it is actually going to not count towards the monster slaying feats of strength. So that is also a really good deny there too, to slow down their progress towards that. They already have one or almost one actually on the side of TFF Alfstronauts, but so far no one securing one of the feats of strength quite yet.
Smith made a smart decision there, opting to hit the eject button and say nope when it came to the collapse from TTF or TFF. They bailed out and returned to their clear path, perhaps looking for an opportunity to gain a priority advantage in the bot lane and secure that upcoming dragon.
Yeah, it looks like there might be a gank coming out on the side of TFF Alfstronauts. Sweevil is swinging on by. Stepbro's in trouble. So is Yakino, already chunked away. And looks like they're going to be settling for this Pantheon. Kill is going to go over to that Xin Zhao. And they are going to secure the Warfare feat of strength. So only one more feat of strength left for them to start getting those potentially upgrade brutes. Meanwhile, Myth is lurking here, trying to catch Sweevil off guard, but it looks like the damage is too much, especially from Chrome, and the aggressive flash forward from that Leona is going to push back the Corki and the Sejuani here, and looks like they're going to try to secure their first objective as well, this first Drake objective for the side of TFF Alfstronauts. Swivel and this Xin Zhao is all over the place too, right timing in a lot of these fights.
Looks like Yukino is coming to interfere and erupt, hoping that the Lord will have sufficient damage to interrupt the fight. And they are able to go ahead and take down the Leona. We see a counterattack from the Akali.
Yeah, Pantheon is going to go down. Leon does go down, but these trades are continuing to go through here. Alfstronaut on this Akali is aggressive here. Does get stunned up briefly from Lord JK, but I think Lord JK is not long for this world. Does go in, is on a killing spree right now. 3-0 on this Akali. Stepbro has no mana, can just only hug the tower while recalling here. Looks like TFF Alfstronauts are still determined to get this objective on this bottom side. But Myth and this Sejuani is coming back over. And really good recognition from this on the side of TFF. And they're going to actually back here to reset. Because if they keep fighting right here with the low health bars, it could swing more back in the favor of Monkey Supreme.
TFF having a strong showing today. Whew,
Yeah.
catch my breath with that one. But they have had these amazing pivots, these amazing rotations, and I can imagine their communication is a lot of call-outs and reassurance about which targets to go for. I'm not used to seeing this level of responsiveness at this level of play, so props to TFF.
Yeah, and looks like Monkey Supreme is going to secure this first Mountain Drake here too. Definitely wants to get on the board with these objectives. They are down about like 1.5k gold, so not too bad. But this Akali is going to start becoming a problem too. Victor was not really, too much ahead, especially in CS here. And now with the extra 3 kills on this Akali, she's going to start becoming a problem once she finishes up this first item. Meanwhile, this bot side here, I mean, Jinx, no kills to her name, but 3 assists is still plenty of gold. And it just looks like, this Pantheon and Corki combination just not really able to secure any kills in lane. So, unfortunately, just going to let this Jinx continue to scale throughout the game.
We're now 10 minutes into the game. The score is 5-1 in favor of TFF. They do have the first feat, which was from the first 3 kills, but they are behind in terms of objective. If they want to go ahead and unlock the strength of feet or those boots, they just need to take the first tower, leveraging their early gold advantage that they've generated through these kills, or contest and steal the next 3 objectives that come on the map. The next of which going to be Voidlings here in about the next 30 seconds. Oh, I spoke too soon.
Yeah,
they're
it's
up now.
Up here too. We got the Leona here to support as well on this objective. They know that they definitely want to be on the board here when it comes to the feats for the monster slaying trait. Looks like Monkey Supreme are just going to be content on giving this up. Recognize they don't have great positioning and they don't really want to in this void pit here to give away kills and the void grub. So that's 4 grubs going over to the side. PFF Alfstronauts, really solid. Going to be able to spawn some of those voidlings as well. And you know, back to farming we go for both sides here. But this Jinx is a slight CS lead over this Corki, and obviously a lot more gold lead too. Gold lead is looking pretty strong though for the side of TFF Alfstronauts.
That's right. I had forgotten in this last patch they lowered. Was it this last patch or the first patch? They lowered the threshold for voidlings where you can start to spawn 1 at 4. I think it's 1 at 5 and 2 at 6 now.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, that makes things a little bit better for Monkey Supreme for sure, if that's the case. Yeah, but either way, this top lane fight just going kind of back and forth. A little bit small CS lead for Ultimice, but does have the low Avengers. Kind of a hard lane for, I think, either to really secure any solo kills here too. But just content on just doing top laner things. As it looks like a lot of the pressure is starting to head back over to this bottom side as Myth is going to secure this bottom Scuttle Crab.
Champion engages on the Jinx.
Yeah. Looks like a quick cleanse is going to come through from Chrome alone. Not really want to stay too long for this fight. We get the teleport actually from Alfate here on this Akali. Looking to support here, but I think this Myth is going to back off. Meanwhile, losing some minions in this middle wave as well. So starting to chunk away at this turret. But looks like Lord JK and the Victor is just resetting as well too. So not too much gained in that specific situation, but it looks like Alfate might be just swapping over to this bottom lane as well, and Jinx and Leona will be heading over to this mid lane as you know we're setting up for our next objective in probably a couple minutes would be the Drake coming up. All right, looks like Myth is positioning here. Barolo has not great vision, but does drop a ward and does spot out Myth. Meanwhile, Chrome alone is kind of in trouble. Cleanse is down, but is dropping the flash to get away here and going to go for the re-engage. Barolo is in trouble here on this alone. The Victor ult comes through as well, is going to go down. Myth is going to be the one securing it, but a huge Pantheon ult comes in as well and secures the kill on Chrome alone. Corgi fighting for her life as well. Swivel is going to go for a double kill, trying to potentially make it a triple, but Sejuani's not going to go down easy. Meanwhile, Yukino and this Pantheon going to continue chasing this Akali. Might have chased a little bit too far here, and Swivel, that's actually a triple for Swivel. Unfortunately, the timing was a little bit too off between the double kill, but now, Swivel on this Shinzao already 4-0, Akali 3-0 as well. We do finally get the Jinx going down, but at what cost here is the real question.
I will argue in defense of MKS on this. That was almost a fantastic play. From the Pantheon ult, they were able to draw the attention away from the Akali, which eliminated a lot of the pressure that was going to be on the Corki and Sedge. Now, unfortunately, Xin Zhao had already hit him with the W, allowing him to gap close and secure the Corki, but that play had saved the Sejuani. If he was able to or chose to back off sooner, he would have been able to save himself, mitigating some of the damage they would have taken from that team fight. Using this tempo, we do see Team TFF, I don't want to keep it in 2 T's there, gaining priority over the second Drake and getting ready to fight for it.
Yeah, definitely. One, progress for the monster slaying on both sides here. So both teams a little bit further away from that piece of strength. We're going to get some solid pokes from Lord JK on that Victor as TFF Alfstronauts are positioning here, but they're getting kind of called out here. Xin Zhao is quite low on Seville, and looks like Corki's going to pick up a kill on the Leona and a big shutdown going over to Lord JK on that Victor. Xin Zhao finally goes down here. Great aggressive positioning from the side of Monkey Supreme, and I think maybe just a slight lack of vision or overconfidence there, thinking that they could take that fight, but just pinned between the Infernal Drake and the rest of the team from Monkey Supreme is going to be solid for them, and they're going to start catching up on this gold disadvantage. And also, again, the shutdown for the victor is going to be huge for them.
Oh, it was definitely a tactical choice. They gave up their top tower. They have a 5-man advantage down on the bot side, giving them a 5 versus 4 team fight, which they use to get a lot of comeback hold and shut down members of the TFF team. Leveraging that successful team fight, they were then able to take that second Drake, meaning that there is a late game comeback win condition for MKS. If they are able to get 2 more dragons, their chances of winning the game significantly go up.
Definitely. I mean, they're one away from Soul Point for sure. So the pressure is definitely on the side of TFF Alfstronauts for this next Drake objective. But like you said, they did take that first turret, so that means that the feature strength will be going over to TFF Alfstronauts. So in some due time, they will get some fancy boosts. Meanwhile, it looks like they're going to try to take this Rift Herald here, and not really much that can be contested on the side of Monkey Supreme, especially without the jungle.
For sure. They're able to secure the Rift Herald, giving them an opportunity, or them being TFF, to elevate the game state by leveraging that to take more towers. If you are TFF here, you want to try to close the game out before the opposing team can scale in, as that's going to give them the best chance to mitigate some of these early game losses that they have painstakingly tried to build.
Yeah, definitely. We see a top lane skirmish here. Ultimice is going to just run down Final Captain, but the stun comes out clutch. Can Final Captain get away? No, the flash forward is going to secure the kill for Ultimice. Going to win that first 1v1 fight there between the two. Mordekaiser just sneakily getting pretty big here on the side of TFF Alfstronauts. And it looks like our 2 mid laners are on the bottom side here, just skirmishing a little bit. Nothing too crazy here, but again, small gold lead on the side of TFF Alfstronauts, but it's still anyone's game, really.
Step by step, the battle can be won. And we see these incremental gains on the behalf of TFF. A fight breaking out, Yukumo engaging on Barlow.
And it looks like a re-engage. Yeah, for the Leona, and then great traps from Chromalo on that Jinx. But it looks like they are going to be able to go back to that middle turret to safety here. Quite a bit of damage on both ends, but just mostly on the 2 supports. They're able to just kind of reset here as they go for a fight later on. Meanwhile, Lord JK really chunking away at this turret. Let's see if they can go for it. A level advantage over Alfei and this Akali, but Akali is 3-0 here. Does have a ton of burst damage, and then now is on a rampage here, going to secure that kill over Lord JK. You know, those 1v1 fights are really satisfying when you secure them.
In the words of Dave Chappelle, yuck! That damage is nasty coming from Akali, as she's able to gap those. New fight breaking out. Myth goes to gank the Mordekaiser Ultimice.
Yeah, and Ultimice is in trouble here. Is quite strong, but not strong enough. And we get the shutdown going over to Myth. Myth, you know, maybe not as many kills as Swivel on the side of TFF Alstronauts, but still 2-0 to his name as well, as Sedrani is starting to get more and more bulky. Barlow and the Rift Herald is going to take down that mid turret. Yukino in trouble here. The engage from Leona as well is going to secure Yukino, and the kill goes over to Chrome alone. You'd love to see that if you're a TFF Alstronauts fan. And looks like, you know, positioning is going to be going over more towards the side of TFF Alstronauts as we're going to push out this mid-wave and go recall, maybe buy some items here. But yeah, a lot of the carries though on the side of TFF Alstronauts are, you know, definitely getting the gold they need.
Now roughly 19 minutes into the game, Baron spawning in 40 seconds. The score is 11-6, still in favor of TFF, who is up by 2 towers and 4 voidlings.
A lot of roses here for Ultimice to claim as well too. Is alone here though. You see Shinzao roaming a bit over for a potential backup. Now is in position, but is spotted out by that control ward. Myth and Yukino, as well as Lord JK is here. They're going aggressively on Swivel. The ultimate is going to come out from the Shinzao, and the fight breaks out. The rocket just misses from Chrome alone as well. They do have this bottom turret to kind of protect him from some of the fight. Almost all 5 members from Alfstronauts are here, and they actually pick off the support. Yukino, the Pantheon does go down. Ultimize is quite low, though, and Final Captain comes in with the cannon, doing a ton of damage onto the side of TFF Alfstronauts. Looks like they're all going to be able to get away, though. Some with quite low health bars, but safety is still on their side. We get some of the berries here is going to heal them up a bit. Alfstronauts, Alfei, I should say, probably not bold enough to go into that dive. They said drawing the ult, not really connecting too much, so, you know, definitely a good thing to see if you're a TFF Alfstronauts fan right here. Myth walking in kind of blind, trying to get Swivel here, knowing the Shinzao ult is down, but is also caught between 3 members of TFF Alfstronauts. You can see Leona just aggressively walking towards here. It looks like they're going to just get picked apart one by one. The reset comes through for Jinx as well. And trying to chase down Corki, not quite able to land that zap here. And another team fight going favorably for the side of TFF Alfstronauts. Yukino's back already on this fight, though, after dying. This fight just does not end. Leona goes in for the re-engage. They do secure the Drake, but Barolo and the Leona is going to go down as a cost. I think they're pretty happy with that trade, though.
Usually when I use the word unstoppable, I'm talking about a team that cannot be stopped, that they're dominating and winning. But in this case, when I use the word unstoppable, I'm talking about a team fight that is just unending. That team fight went on for well over a minute, and it was crazy to see the back and forth. That team fight could have gone in any direction, and to properly analyze it, a play-by-play or a playback would probably be the call there. But there were some significant ults that failed to connect that could have turned the fight into a very different direction. Sejuani's ult had whiffed and missed her target, and Kennen's ult was, well, missed its targets through Mordekaiser being the vulnerable player. They're using his ult to remove Sejuani from that fight, meaning that Kennen wasn't getting a lot of value out of that. But also, due to ZOI, allowed the back row members to reposition and avoid getting caught in it, allowing them to use their range advantage to then pepper them and lower their health resources to carry that fight out. We have a new fight breaking up in the top lane. Yukino trying to gank the Akali, and Kennen chasing after Akali, trying to kite her way back and doing some fancy shenanigans.
Oh, wow. And we get the shutdown going over to the side of Final Captain. Definitely a lot of goals. The Akali finally goes down, but they have pretty much 4 members on side of Monkey Supreme there, which means this is pretty much a free Otacon for the side of TFF Alfstronauts. I think that's a trade that they're going to take. Let's see if Lord JK can do anything. The ultimate from Victor is going to come through, going to sprinkle in some damage, but just not enough to do anything meaningful. There is going to be Voracious Otacon as well, means that pretty much all members of TFF Alfstronauts will have a pseudo Guardian Angel, essentially, for their side, which means that they can take even more aggressive fights. However, I like this macro from the side of Monkey Supreme, too, knowing that they lose the Otacon. They're going to take 2 turrets as well to close down some of that gold lead that Alfstronauts have.
We're now 23 minutes into the game. The score is 15-8. But the goal differential between the 2 games is less than 2,000, approximately 1,500 in favor of TFF.
Alfei and this Akali going to clean up some of the CS as well. Shutdown was probably not ideal for Alfei, but the amount of resources they poured into that, I think, was well worth the trade here. They do have this Otacon buff for a couple minutes too, so I think we're going to probably see them force some fights here, or just maybe even try to grab some of these summoner spells, meaningful summoner spells from the side of Monkey Supreme if possible. Sometimes those are worthy trades as well. No objective spawning anytime soon, though, so my guess is they're probably going to try to take a fight collectively at a turret or really push the objective.
For MKF, you are looking for those objectives and those team fights. That perhaps is the best way for you to come back, but you have to leverage your ults. Without those ults, you're just going to get stack checked by TFF, who has their gold stacked on the members they want that gold to be on. Speaking of which, we see a fight breaking out on the bot lane as Akali turret dives the Victor and is able to get out successfully.
And there you go.
Not quite.
Yeah, I mean, but you got the Otacon coming through, so definitely a worthy trade in terms of gold-wise for the side of TFF Alfstronauts. Able to get the kill, get the, you know, quick recall to the base as well. Looks like they are going to change some of that for the next patch as well, recognizing how strong that Voracious Otacon is. But at the moment, still definitely a worthy trade to just dive for those kills. Looks like the members of TFF Alfstronauts are positioning around this Baron Pit as it's starting to spawn here too. Let's see if they go for a quick objective rip. They do have strong aggressive positioning, but Yukino and the members of Monkey Supreme is going to spot this out. Let's see if they can respond fast enough too. I mean, you got the Pantheon ult that can really just jump in for these fights. Oh, and here comes the vision they need. Is it too late though? Myth is nowhere near here, and it looks like they can only do nothing but watch the Baron being taken as well. Corki's got to be careful. It looks like the Voracious Otacon buff is gone, and we see a quick ultimate forward from Myth. Chrome is going to go down. Kennen getting that shutdown as well. Ultimice goes down as well. Another shutdown. We get the Kennen going down as a trade as well as the Pantheon, but the fight is looking pretty favorable for the side of Monkey Supreme, and the only member that makes it out there with the Baron buff is going to be Alfei on that Akali, but that's actually a pretty good trade for the side of Monkey Supreme. A lot of shutdowns as well, and now even though they don't have the Baron buff, they're able to push some of these towers down with the minions they have, and just the lack of members onside TFF Alfstronauts to defend this.
Absolutely, that's the moment I've been waiting for. I was telling you, it's all about the ult, and in that team fight, the Sejuani and Kennen were able to connect with multiple targets, allowing them to play to their strength of their composition and make up the gold differential. So in this instance, the Baron is worth 1,500 gold, and they were able to secure 2 more kills for TFF, resulting in a net positive of about 2,100, whereas MKS was able to equalize that by getting 5 kills with the shutdown and getting the value of the turret. If there was no shutdown gold, their value should be approximately 2,000, but with the addition of shutdown gold, they were able to exceed and gain additional gold from that trade, as well as mitigating the advantages that come from the Baron. I stand corrected. Akali did not die. She still has the Baron buff. They got 4 kills, not 5.
Yeah, but still, pretty good though. We'll take 4 any day if you're a Monkey Supreme fan. They're now on Soul Point as well after that Chemtech Drake. But they're going to try to use Alphates and this Baron buff to see if they can push anything here too. Victor getting chunked quite a bit in this exchange, and they're slowly whittling down this turret. They do have 4 grubs on their side too, so it is going to get chunked quite a bit. And Ultimate as well, split pushing here. We have a fight going through. Yukino is going to engage on the Xin Zhao, and looks like Barolo on that Leona is going to go down. Final Captain goes into stasis as well to negate some of this damage. Alfei trying to do what they can on the Kali, but the Victor ultimate is massive at this point too. Can they get a wipe? And looks like the Jinx does go down as well. No members besides the Pantheon on the side of Monkey Supreme is going to go down. It was a 5v4 fight, unfortunately for them, because Ultimize was split pushing here too. Going to try to catch this wave with Corki pushing down. Corki is quite low. Stepbro's got to watch out for this Mordekaiser coming in from behind.
Or if he pays attention to it and manages out the space with the concept we call ZOI, or Zone of Influence, he will be able to outpace the Mordekaiser and should be able to get out here safely. Although Mordekaiser is trying to cut the angle, and now looks like Sejuani is trying to bail him out. Mordekaiser is able to close in, but misses with the max range grab there, allowing Corki to escape safely.
Yeah, good patience there as well. Valkyrie is going to get that Corki to safety. But again, another big fight going over the side of Monkey Supreme. And look at the gold difference now. 200 gold difference. That's it. That's huge for the side of Monkey Supreme. And again, they are on Soul Point as well too. So they're starting to, get the fights they're looking for. I am curious how a full 5v5 fight would look for the side of TFF Alfstronauts. I mean, it looked like the health bars are so low on the side of Monkey Supreme in that fight, but just not enough to really close out and get the kills they need and, get the resets that Jinx really needs in these fights.
As I said earlier, it's going to come down to the ultimates and positioning. MKS has shown that when they land their targets as 5, they're able to dominate the team fight, as their composition should do. But we've seen earlier in the game, TFF be able to mitigate that through proper positioning and avoiding. We see Sejuani whiffs the ult, perhaps giving a window of opportunity for TFF to take a favorable fight.
Yeah, Mythos Sejuani is getting pretty massive at this point too. I mean, I think a lot of these engages have been on the backs of Myth, really making a lot of these work too. I mean, Yukino also having some great picks as well. Alfei on this Akali is kind of in trouble, getting chunked quite a bit. Is going to get to safety. Meanwhile, a fight does go through. Can they catch Myth? Myth is so tanky at this point too. Just able to survive all this damage, and they turn their eyes on Lord JK and Silence Victor. Going to be a good pick off there, but Chrome alone, the Jinx does go down. However, we get the shutdown on Myth as well too. So a fight finally going over more in favor of TFF Alfstronauts for once here in what seems like forever. But the Jinx in trade for 4 members of Monkey Supreme is going to be quite valuable for them. Stepbro going to do what they can to kind of whittle down this wave before they start knocking on this inhibitor turret, but I think just not enough damage to really clean this up. So they're going to get this first turret here by this inhibitor, and I think they're going to get this mid inhibitor as well. I don't think they can quite end the game yet because they just don't have a strong enough way. They're going to pull back off here. Both Baron and Drake are spawning within a minute.
Be interesting tactical choice here as they try to prioritize if they're going to deny the soul or if TFF wants to take the Baron and leverage that that inhibitor and the super minions as a way to try to close out the game. Either one could position itself as a strong decision. If you deny them from getting the soul, you effectively bought your team 5 more minutes before a catastrophic fight can break out. However, if you take the Baron, you have the opportunity to close out the game entirely and perhaps avoid it going to Elder or giving the opposing team, MKS, any further opportunities to come back into the game.
Yeah, that last fight didn't look really great for Monkey Supreme. They kind of just look split all over the place, and because of that, they're kind of getting picked apart from TFF Alfstronauts. If Alfstronauts can find another fight like that, it's definitely looking pretty good. But looks like Myth is going to go on the engage first. Engaged on the Leona as well. Borolo is hard to take down, though, and is able to flash to safety. Meanwhile, Alfei goes in 1v5. It doesn't really pick the kills that he's looking for. But the Xin Zhao is continuing to chunk down, and the Corki goes down. That's a lot of their damage. Myth goes down as well. And another great fight going over to the side of TFF Alfstronauts, and most importantly, their jungler's still up, so they can start grabbing these objectives. They definitely need to deny this Drake here, too. They don't want to give away the soul points for the side of Monkey Supreme. They should be able to secure this pretty easily, unless Panther makes a hero play, which seems unlikely at this point.
Shout out to Chrome Malone in that team fight. Their positioning was superb, leveraging the map to be a natural barrier, allowing them to safely harass them at max range. I do believe we're going to see TFF trying to use these death timers as a way to secure both objectives, going for the easiest and closest one first, and now going for the Baron while they're up by 2 men. They also know that even if Victor is able to TP back in, he will not have ult, and the fights they've been losing have been very ult dependent. So if the fight breaks out now, they've got nothing to fear.
Yeah, they're going to start slowly poking away, but Lord JK does get pulled in for the death grab. They are starting to chunk here, but I don't think they have the damage to secure this Baron. Definitely not, and they're going to turn on the fight. Corki and Myth are running towards this fight, but I think it's a little too late. They have to backpedal a bit here, and the Empowered Recalls are going to get TFF Alfstronauts back to safety really quick, so another great fight from them. Kind of a tough one to contest from the side of Monkey Supreme. You know, they tried, but unfortunately just not able to get any real value there.
They had a valiant effort, and you can see Final Captain going in with his ult, trying to get them in the pit was a very smart decision. However, Ultimize had an out for that and leveraged his own ult to remove Kennen, allowing the rest of their teammates to carry the fight and secure the Baron.
Yeah, we're going to see how Monkey Supreme is going to adjust this, but things are swinging heavily in favor of TFF Alfstronauts in these most recent 2 or 3 fights. I mean, look at the gold difference now too, right? Almost, what, 7k, 8k difference at this point for TFF Alfstronauts as they're looking to push their advantage on this top side. All members are here outside the Akali, but Akali will be matching them quite shortly here, maybe even pushing this mid wave a little bit to push some extra pressure here. This is going to be potentially one of the last team fights here if things don't go well for Monkey Supreme. You can see Myth trying to clear some of this vision as well. Final Captain forced to kind of match his mid wave, and now they're slowly punching away at this top 2nd level turret. Myth actually going in on the Akali, but just not enough follow damage to do anything.
It was a bit too tanky for the Akali there. I think she was looking to get a pick while they had priority and Kennen was dealing with the mid wave. However, as you stated, just not enough damage with what I can only imagine to be 5 or 6,000 HP for Sejuani there, who should be doing massive damage about that. Fight breaking out in the top lane. The Lord getting jumped on. Is able to flash out. Jinx ult misses.
Ooh, a huge ultimate from Sejuani as well. It's going to catch Ultimize, but Ultimize is super bulky. Stepbro gets completely destroyed right off then and there. Kennen trying to do what they can to buy some time, but just not enough damage. Myth barely gets out with the skin of their teeth, but looks like the turret is going to go down on this top side as well. Inhibitor shortly to follow, and you can see Jinx is excited and just chunking away at this building damage here. They're going to try to put on one last fight, but you got mid wave, top wave, and Baron Ruffs all beating down onto the defenses of Monkey Supreme, and they just don't have the damage to close it out. Myth goes down, and so does the Victor shortly after, going to go to stasis just to buy a little bit of time, but that's a little bit too late. First game is going to go over to TFF Alfstronauts.
Blue team double kill.
What a back and forth series. In the span of 5 minutes, no less, as we got closer to the 30-minute mark, we did see MKS almost eliminate that gold differential, getting it as low as 200, and then within 5 minutes, it went lopsided all the way back to TFF.
Oh man, what a game back and forth too. I mean, it looked like Monkey Supreme was able to kind of claw their way back into it, but just, it was about 2-3 back-to-back team fights that just really put them further behind. And, we saw a slight glimmer of hope for Monkey Supreme, but they're going to have to readjust some of their game plans for game number 2.
Absolutely. It was, man, a moment of perhaps pressure that instigated choices that have set them behind. As an analyst myself, I like to do this thing or share this thing that we call the cognitive triangle, which explains player behavior. What we think affects what we do affects what we experience, and what we experience reinforces what we believe. And so when you're in a position where you are behind or you're finally coming back, the adrenaline's running, you are thinking accelerated thoughts, and you are trying to continue to push that lead because you're clawing back. And that's going to affect your decision. You see more impulsive decisions leading to lost team fights and then a sense of panic. It's a phenomenal model to explain player behavior, and I like to preach it all the time. I will be interested to see after this experience of game 1 how NKS adjusts. If I can make a recommendation to any team in this position, there's an exercise I like to call hand on heart. You put your hand on your heart, and you start conning through all your senses from what you hear, from what you see, and you start 5 things you can see, or 5 things you can hear, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can taste, and so on and so forth. And this puts you in a sense of mindfulness so that you can attack the next game with a sense of relentlessness and optimism, but with the cool collectiveness of a cucumber, and make calculated decisions.
That's right. I love it. That's why they call you the professor. All right.
Oh,
Well, we're
yes,
going
they
to take
do.
a quick break after this game. We have game 2 on our way, though, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.